Yeah, we've gotten so used to the government protecting us, and then the more they protect us, they want to convince us that we need more of their protection.
Yeah.
And so then when there's a problem, as opposed to, say, the Wild West, I mean, my grandfather went west and literally did cotton fields and raised cattle. I mean, back then, you had to figure it out. You had to make choices. If there was a dangerous situation, you'd have to stay out of it. You know, people had choices and they created solutions. These days, it's like, okay, what does the government say we should do, want us to do, tell us to do? Like you said, you forget the fact that we ultimately have the choice, right? We can choose to do these things. It's almost as if we forgot the fact that we have the right to a choice.
That's right. That's right. And like I said, people don't understand. The more control you give the government, they never give it back. They just want more.
Yeah, they never.
And that's the mob. Same thing.
Same with the mob.
Same exact thing. You give us control of your company, we want it all.
Right.
You know, and it's all about power and control. Power and control. If you gave us power, we never gave it back. You're not giving us control and then think we're going to give it back to you. No, we're going to take more.
Right.
That's the mentality. That's the ideology. That's Machiavellian. That's exactly what's happening in our government. The book comes out tomorrow, by the way.
I can't wait. It's an incredible, and there's links. There's little links below, and I've already seen, the cover and everything on Amazon. It's fantastic.
The funny thing about it, Brian, you know who wrote the foreword?
What's that?
Rudy Giuliani. My arch enemy from 30 years ago wrote the foreword, and I was really surprised at what he wrote.
What did you write? Because Rudy Giuliani was the DA that I guess put you away or came after you. He was going after all the mob bosses in New York City, or maybe your case was in Florida, but he was going after everybody. He was made famous because of that.
Yes.
And now you guys are friends.
Yeah, he indicted me. I went to trial for several months. I beat the case, okay, but he was the main prosecutor in New York. He was a U.S. attorney. And he put all these guys away. He put all the commission guys away, put Gotti away, put everything, all of that. But wait a minute, did he put Gotti away, or was that the Eastern District? I don't remember, one of the districts. But so my enemy told me he was going to give me 100 years the day of my arraignment, right? So cut to 35 years later, now he writes the foreword for my book. We had gotten together once on a mutual friend's radio show. And it was a very pleasant conversation. But what he said, he says, Michael, I've been watching you for 25 years. I believe your transformation is real. And so it wasn't like just a spur of the moment thing. So my publisher said, Rudy, would you write the foreword? He said, yeah, I'll write it. And I was shocked. And what a nice foreword he wrote. And he's straightforward, don't get me wrong. But he really said some nice things.
And he believes in a similar way that you do about looking at the mafia democracy and the lack of control. And so even though you guys came from technically polar opposite sides, enemies in the field of battle, you now agree on the state of the union in America.
Yes, and I want to make this clear. This is not about Republican or Democrat. I'm talking about the system, and there's problems on both sides. Because right away, Brian, you get, Trump, 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 Trump. Everything is Trump. And nothing to do with Trump. You know, nothing to do with Trump. Look, I supported Trump's policies. I thought they were good for America. I understood it. I'm not saying that we're not friends. I don't want him dating my daughter. You know, we're not neighbors or anything like that. But I agreed with a lot of his policies for America. That's it for me. It's not a personality contest. You know, and there's certain Democrats that I believe in too. But on both sides, there's a problem with the system, and it's corruption, and it's permeating the whole country, and it's bad. You know, this whole thing, defund the police. Brian, what kind of ridiculous notion is this? Are these people living in outer space? I did 8 years in prison. I was a criminal on the street. You know what I asked one guy? I said, let me ask you a question. You believe in defunding police? Yeah, there's another way. Really? I said, in other words, you're going to go tell criminals, we're not going to lock you up anymore. And you expect the criminal to say, thank you, I'm not going to steal anymore? I said, they're going to take advantage. It's common sense. Where do you come up with these ideas? I don't get it. And look what's happening. Crime is out of control in these progressive cities where they're taking the police away. It's out of control. People are getting killed. Stores are getting... Do you know in California now, you could steal under $1,000 and nothing happens to you. People are going in the store, could take the shelves, put it in the shelf, and walking right out. The security guard can't even touch them. Major stores are closing down because of the theft in the stores.
It's madness to watch. But this comes down to what you're talking about in the book, is that we have to start making sure these processes in place,
Yes.
get back to some discipline, get back to accountability, and stop going on this other route that we seem to have gone through
That makes no sense.
with politics and social media and this new era.
No, it's, and I bring it out strongly in the book. You know, I started writing this book about 5-6 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And then I wrote a couple of chapters and I said, what do I need to do this for? You know, I get people are upset with me. But now I feel a responsibility, Brian. You know, I'm going to be 71 years old. What do I got to worry about? And I feel a responsibility because of my children, my grandchildren, you know, the future generations. We got to get this country under control. I've never seen it so divided in America as I've seen it now. Never in my lifetime.
It's hard for me to watch from over here because I grew up in California. I spent time in New York City, and now I live here. And to watch it be so divided with this madness that I see. You know, I always joke if I went to move back to America, Michael, I wouldn't live in California and I wouldn't live in New York City.
No.
Probably move to Texas or Florida or someplace that seemed to make a little bit more sense. And again, 5 years ago, I would have never conceived of that.
Right.
But I'm watching it unfold, and it's hard to watch. And I also know that America leads the world. So
Yes.
what happens in America, it's coming here 5 years later. And unless we start talking about it and doing something about it and having hard conversations, then it'll get
Absolutely.
worse.
And you know, the thing is, you can't have conversations anymore. People get so passionately angry. But it used to be you could talk about this. Now it's breaking up families, breaking up friends. If you're for a certain party, don't talk to me anymore. Why? That's not what this is about. We're supposed to be sharing ideas. Disagreement is good. You know, we don't want everybody. Disagreement is good because that's how you keep control of things. Maintain a balance, but it's not happening.
That's what a sit down ultimately is, when you get people in the room, right? And you share views and opinions that have nuance. And you kind of come up with some type of an agreement, right? Some
Yes.
kind of a way to move forward, when before that sit down, it was, I'm right and he's wrong.
Yes.
And so by having that conversation, a bit like we're having now, you get people to maybe understand and have a little empathy with each other and realize it's better to work together than apart.
Exactly. And then you're disciplined enough, whatever the decision is, okay, you go on with your life.
And you stick with it.
You win this one, you lost that, it's just how it is. And you still move on.